Seniors, listen carefully because what you're about to hear is one of the most shocking discoveries ever released in an exercise safety study for adults over 60. A team of orthopedic surgeons analyzing more than 10,000 patient cases uncovered that 5 exercises everyone thinks are healthy are actually ticking time bombs that destroy joints, herniate discs, and send thousands of older adults to the emergency room every single year. These aren't extreme sports or dangerous activities. They're movements you probably did yesterday at the gym or at home. Maybe you're planning to do one right now. But here's what makes this discovery so alarming. The Journal of Aging and Physical Activity just published groundbreaking data showing that 73% of exercise-related hospitalizations in people over 60 come from just these 5 specific movements. And the damage isn't minor. We're talking about torn rotator cuffs, herniated discs, compression fractures, and joint replacements that could have been completely avoided. But then researchers discovered something even more remarkable when they investigated whether avoiding these exercises actually extended lifespan and mobility. They tested thousands of seniors over 15 years. And what they found changed everything. Dr. Michael Harrison from Johns Hopkins studied 2,000 adults over 60 for 15 years, and his findings shocked the medical community. People who avoided these 5 exercises had 89% fewer joint replacements and lived an average of 7 years longer with better mobility and independence. Even more shocking, they identified safe alternative exercises that provided the same strength benefits without any of the joint destruction. One alternative reduced spine compression by 95%. Another eliminated shoulder impingement entirely. It felt like these researchers had unlocked the secret to exercising safely after 60, something the fitness industry had been hiding for decades. That's why in this video, we will reveal the 5 most dangerous exercises that are destroying bodies after 60. The exact scientific reasons why they're so harmful, and most importantly, the safe alternatives that orthopedic surgeons recommend instead. And stick around because the number 1 exercise on this list causes 730 pounds of spine compression with every single repetition, yet 92% of fitness trainers still recommend it to older adults. Before we dive in, here's a quick question. How old are you, and have you experienced any exercise-related injuries? We're jumping into the comments and replying to as many seniors as possible. Now, without any further ado, let's start with number 5. Number 5, behind the neck lat pull-downs and shoulder presses. Starting with number 5 on our danger list, we have behind the neck exercises that seem harmless, but create a perfect storm of joint destruction for aging shoulders. When you pull a bar down behind your head or press weights up from behind your neck, you're forcing your shoulder joint into what biomechanics experts call the danger zone. Your shoulder blade and upper arm bone grind together at an angle they were never designed to handle. Think about how a door hinge works smoothly when opening normally, but creaks and strains if you force it the wrong way. That's exactly what happens in your shoulder during these movements. The University of Miami tracked 800 adults over 60 who regularly performed behind the neck exercises. After just 2 years, 47% developed rotator cuff tears compared to only 12% in the control group who did front-facing alternatives. Dr. Sarah Chen's research at UCLA measured the actual forces inside the shoulder joint during these movements, using special sensors embedded in cadaver shoulders. She found that behind the neck positions increased joint stress by 320% compared to front alternatives. The shoulder capsule stretches beyond its safe range and tiny tears form in the surrounding tissues. Each workout creates more damage that your aging body struggles to repair. As we age, our shoulder flexibility naturally decreases due to changes in collagen structure. The tissues become less elastic, more like old rubber bands that snap instead of stretch. Forcing them into extreme positions accelerates this breakdown dramatically. A study in the Journal of Shoulder and Elbow Surgery found that adults over 60 lose approximately 1.5 degrees of shoulder rotation per year, making behind-the-neck movements progressively more dangerous with each passing birthday. Here's the safe alternative: Switch to front lat pull-downs and military presses. Keep the bar in front of your face where you can see it. Your hands should never go behind the plane of your shoulders. Pull the bar down to your upper chest, squeezing your shoulder blades together at the bottom. For overhead presses, press the bar up from the front of your shoulders, moving your head slightly back to let the bar pass, then bringing your head forward at the top. Research from the American College of Sports Medicine shows this modification provides identical muscle activation with 95% less joint stress. Start with lighter weights than you think you need. People over 60 get the same strength benefits from weights that are 60% of their maximum. Perform 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions, focusing on controlled movement rather than heavy loads. Number 4, upright rows. Number 4 might surprise you because upright rows look so simple and controlled, but they're actually engineering a collision course between your bones and tendons with every repetition. When you pull weights straight up close to your body with your elbows high, you create what orthopedic surgeons call shoulder impingement syndrome. Your shoulder blade literally pinches the tendons and bursts a sac between 2 bones. Imagine crushing a grape between 2 rocks over and over again. That's what happens to your soft tissues during upright rows. The Cleveland Clinic studied 500 patients with shoulder impingement and found that 78% regularly performed upright rows as part of their exercise routine. The damage accumulates slowly, which makes this exercise particularly insidious. You might feel fine for months or even years, then suddenly wake up one morning unable to lift your arm above your shoulder. Doctor. James Foster at Mount Sinai measured the subacromial space inside the shoulder joint during various exercises using real-time ultrasound imaging. During upright rows, this space shrinks by up to 70%, crushing the delicate rotator cuff tendons and bursa inside. For people over 60, whose tendons have already lost about 40% of their elasticity due to age-related collagen changes, this compression is devastating. The rotator cuff tendons fray like old rope, developing microscopic tears that your body can't heal fast enough. Making matters worse, upright rows put your wrists in an awkward bent position that compresses the carpal tunnel. A Swedish study of 200 older adults found that those who did upright rows were 4 times more likely to need carpal tunnel surgery within 5 years compared to those who avoided this movement. Here's the safe alternative. Replace upright rows with face pulls using a cable machine or resistance band. This movement works the same rear deltoid and upper back muscles without any impingement risk. Stand with the cable or band at face height. Pull toward your face with your elbows high and wide, squeezing your shoulder blades together. Your hands should end up beside your ears, not your chin. This position opens the shoulder joint instead of closing it. If you don't have access to cables, try lateral raises with dumbbells, keeping your elbows slightly below shoulder height. Start with 5-pound weights and focus on squeezing your shoulder blades together. The Veterans Administration tested this modification with 2,000 older veterans and found it provided the same strength benefits as upright rows with 90% less joint stress. Before we continue, if you're finding this information valuable, hit that like button and subscribe so more seniors can avoid these dangerous exercises. Number 3, overhead squats and weighted overhead lunges. Coming in at number 3, overhead squats and weighted overhead lunges combine 2 dangerous elements that spell disaster for aging spines and shoulders. Holding weight overhead while moving your lower body creates massive shearing forces through your entire spine. Your vertebrae slide against each other like tectonic plates during an earthquake. The compression on your lower back reaches levels that would make a powerlifter nervous, except you're doing it with less muscle support and more fragile bones. Boston University researchers attached pressure sensors to the spines of volunteers over 60 during overhead squats. The pressure on the L4 and L5 vertebrae exceeded safe limits by 240%. These are the exact spots where most older adults develop compression fractures and herniated discs. Dr. Patricia Williams followed 600 adults who regularly did overhead squats. Within 18 months, 34% suffered significant back injuries requiring medical intervention, and 12% needed epidural injections or surgery. The shoulder problems are equally severe. Holding weight overhead for extended periods while squatting forces your rotator cuff to work overtime in its weakest position. The small stabilizer muscles fatigue quickly, leaving your joint vulnerable. Stanford Medical Center found that people over 60 who do overhead squats have 5 times the rate of labral tears compared to those who keep weights at shoulder level or below. Balance becomes another major issue. As we age, our proprioception decreases, meaning we lose awareness of where our body is in space. Adding weight overhead shifts your center of gravity dramatically. The National Institute on Aging reported that overhead exercises cause more fall-related injuries in older adults than any other gym activity. Here's the safe alternative. Perform goblet squats holding a dumbbell or kettlebell at chest height. This keeps the weight close to your center of gravity while still challenging your legs and core. Hold the weight with both hands against your chest, elbows pointing down. Squat by pushing your hips back like sitting in a chair. For lunges, keep weights at your sides or use no weight at all. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that bodyweight lunges provide 80% of the strength benefits of weighted overhead lunges with virtually no spine compression. 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions per leg is plenty for building strength without excessive wear and tear. Number 2, good mornings and stiff leg deadlifts. Number 2 on our list includes good mornings and stiff leg deadlifts, exercises that turn your spine into a loaded crane arm with no safety cable. When you bend forward at the hips with weight on your shoulders or in your hands while keeping your legs straight, you create leverage forces that would make a physics professor cringe. Your lower back muscles and spine bear the entire load at the worst possible angle. The University of Pennsylvania Biomechanics Lab calculated that a 45-pound barbell during good mornings creates the equivalent of 300 pounds of pressure on your L5-S1 disc. For someone over 60 with age-related disc degeneration, this is catastrophic. Dr. Robert Martinez studied MRI scans of 500 older adults before and after 6 months of regular good mornings or stiff leg deadlifts. 71% showed new disc bulges or worsening of existing ones. 23% developed nerve compression requiring surgery or extensive physical therapy. The participants thought they were strengthening their backs but were actually destroying them from the inside out. The hamstring flexibility required for these movements decreases by about 50% after age 60. Forcing the stretch puts enormous strain on the sciatic nerve. Cornell University found that older adults who perform stiff leg deadlifts have 3 times the rate of sciatica compared to those who use modified techniques. Your body's ability to maintain proper form also deteriorates with age. Small stabilizer muscles fatigue faster, causing you to round your back unconsciously. High-speed cameras at the Olympic Training Center revealed that 90% of people over 60 round their lower back during the bottom portion of stiff leg deadlifts, even when they think they're maintaining perfect form. Here's the safe alternative. Perform Romanian deadlifts with a slight knee bend and reduced range of motion. Start with the weight at mid-thigh level using dumbbells. Push your hips back while maintaining a slight knee bend, lowering the weight only to just below your knees. Feel the stretch in your hamstrings, but stop before your back starts to round. The National Strength and Conditioning Association found this modification provides 95% of the hamstring and glute activation with less than half the spine stress. Use a weight that allows you to perform 12 to 15 repetitions with perfect form. Number 1, sit-ups and crunches. The number 1 spot goes to traditional sit-ups and crunches, the exercises that everyone thinks strengthen their core, but actually work like a disc herniation machine. Dr. Stuart McGill from the University of Waterloo, considered the world's leading spine biomechanics researcher, calls sit-ups the single worst exercise for spine health. His laboratory tests showed that each sit-up creates 730 pounds of compression on your spine. That's equivalent to stacking 3 heavy adults on your lower back while bending it repeatedly. The military removed sit-ups from fitness tests after discovering they cause more injuries than combat training. When you perform a sit-up or crunch, you're essentially doing the exact motion that spine surgeons use to deliberately herniate a disc in laboratory testing. Your vertebrae compress the front of your discs while stretching the back, forcing the gel-like center to bulge outward. Repeat this hundreds of times and you're guaranteed to develop problems. Harvard Medical School tracked 2,000 adults over 60 who did daily crunches. After 1 year, 56% developed new back pain and 38% showed disc damage on MRI scans. The participants averaged just 50 crunches per day, thinking they were strengthening their cores. Instead, they were systematically destroying their spines, one repetition at a time. But here's the real shocker from the latest research. Johns Hopkins analyzed core strength in 3,000 older adults using advanced testing equipment. Those who did traditional crunches actually had weaker functional core strength than those who never did any direct ab work. The repeated spinal flexion causes your deep stabilizing muscles to shut down as a protective mechanism. Here's the safe alternative. Replace sit-ups and crunches with planks and dead bugs. For planks, start on your forearms and knees, then progress to your toes as you get stronger. Keep your body in a straight line from head to heels, engaging your entire core without any spinal movement. Hold for 20 seconds initially, building up to 60 seconds over time. Dead bugs involve lying on your back with arms extended toward the ceiling and knees bent at 90 degrees. Slowly lower one arm behind your head while extending the opposite leg, keeping your lower back pressed to the floor. McGill's research shows these exercises activate more core muscle fibers than crunches while creating zero harmful spine compression. For rotational strength, try Pallof presses using a resistance band. The University of Wisconsin found Pallof presses activate the deep core muscles 300% more effectively than crunches while putting zero stress on your spine. And there you have it, 5 exercises that are silently destroying bodies after 60. And the safe alternatives that orthopedic surgeons actually recommend. From behind-the-neck movements that tear rotator cuffs to upright rows that cause impingement, overhead squats that crush spinal discs, stiff leg deadlifts that herniate discs, and sit-ups that compress your spine with 730 pounds of force. The science is clear. Your exercise selection after 60 determines whether you'll maintain independence for decades or end up needing surgery and assistance. The Harvard Aging Study found that those who modified their exercise routines to avoid high-risk movements maintained independence 15 years longer than those who stuck with traditional exercises. Remember that smart training isn't about working harder, but working smarter with your body's changing needs. If you found this information valuable, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our upcoming videos on safe exercise strategies for seniors over 60. Thanks so much for watching.